What? The fingers are disappearing. But we're not going live? What's happening? Oh, okay. What a cop-out. What happened there? What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the MLB Early Live Before Lock, presented by Prize Picks. I'm Eric Lindquist. With the help of Tyler Zander over there behind the virtual glass, we're going to have a carefree, easygoing show just like yesterday, right, Ty? Right? Okay. I wasn't on it, but it was interesting to watch. Enjoyed all of the things going on, but Chris Pennell has no idea what we're talking about, but that's my buddy up there. Go follow him at Chris Pennell16 over on the Twitters. You might know him from the NASCAR streets. Guess what? He hangs out with me on Wednesdays in the MLB streets, and he does a damn good job. How you doing, my dude?
Doing well, Eric. Looking forward to breaking down just one slate today. It's a bit of a change of pace from what we usually do on Wednesday mornings.
Main slate won't be going before the stream. Ooh, look at this, Crichton. We are coming in hot, baby. We got 5 games. These prize pools look really, really good. We got a 50K to first over on DK, even a 10K to first over on FanDuel. I'm going to be playing both. We'll see how building while lineups start coming out goes while on a show. This ought to be entertaining. And for that entertainment factor, smash that like button, subscribe button, notification bell. That will all go a long way for both Chris and myself. I don't know how we benefit, but we definitely benefit because, we like this job. This is enjoyable. Chris, anything that stands out to you on this 5-gamer before we dig in and go game by game and then recap towards the end as lineups start coming out?
Only thing that really stands out to me is that we have some major chalk spots here that it's going to be very hard to avoid, especially on a very small slate. So we're going to have to find ways to get different. And hopefully throughout the show, we can find ways to do just that.
Oh, maybe the Giants are popular for the infinitieth slate in a row. I will say, I think, have you played MLB the last 2 days?
Yes, played last night, played the day before, I believe. Yeah.
The Giants were drastically lower owned than what anybody would have thought going into either of those games. Like Mike Yastrzemski in the $15 on DK was like 13% on yesterday's slate.
Which is pretty criminal, I think, especially in Coors.
Yeah. But you had a Tommy La Stella 2100 leadoff, sub 15% on DK.
Yeah, it's just the Yankees picked up a lot more ownership than what I thought they were going to be.
That's exactly
popular, but Judge, I know in some FanDuel single entries last night, Judge was around 80% owned in my contest.
Oh, yeah, he was 40% owned or 36% on, I think, in the 4-4-4, which is what I played on FanDuel yesterday. Oopsie, not great. I can't tell you how aggravating that was to see the second one leave the yard because I thought it was good. I had a couple of really good Houston lineups that overlapped with Judge there. In a couple where it was kind of sneaking through the cracks, played a ton of Caprillion. He was my favorite pitcher on FanDuel. I think he was like 6,400 yesterday against a Twins lineup without Buxton, but pretty hard to have all the pieces when San Francisco goes off at Mega Chalk on FanDuel. That they not popular in DK. You had Judge insanely popular. It was a tough day to win yesterday, is what I'm getting at.
That is for sure. Especially on a day when Michael Brantley goes deep. That's for sure.
Were you couldn't wait to at me? You added me immediately when that left the yard. I was like, what? Oh, Michael Brantley must have hit a home run. There it is.
Yeah, I think it's the first time I ever tweeted you, but I figured that got us off to a pretty hot start.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, my friend. All it took was 1 month to be able to hit the button.
Yeah, well, next month I'll be doing it as well.
Looking forward to that scheduled tweet that you have getting going. Keller, Ham yesterday. Yeah, there were a lot of things from yesterday. What up, boys? Rob Martin. We got Corey A. Jefferson. We've got all the usual suspects here in chat talking a 5-game early MLB slate. Once again, smash that like button. If not for me, for my friend Chris over there. Let's get to it, shall we? Detroit, plus 155 at Tampa Bay. They're getting it going early there in Florida so that they can get on their boats in the afternoon and do whatever that they do in Tampa Bay. I don't know. They win Super Bowls or one time. Detroit Tigers. Yeah. You got Eduardo Rodriguez on the mound here. You've got the Tampa Bay Rays, Drew Rasmussen, who's been pretty good of late. Everything is going to pale in comparison to Corbin Burns on this slate for FanDuel purposes. I think it's impossible for me to get away from playing tons of him there, but I want to try to find some paths to get different. If you had to roster one of these two on the blue site, who do you prefer? And then we'll kind of talk about it for DK purposes as well.
Yeah, so over on the blue site, Eduardo Rodriguez is a little bit cheaper, but I still feel a lot more comfortable getting the Rasmussen here. I know he's a little bit more expensive, but only a 3 implied run total against him. He's got the better win equity here. I think the Rays are kind of a decent stack on this slate. They definitely don't pop off the page with around a 4 implied run total. But again, if we're trying to get away from some of these chalky teams like Coors Field, like the Dodgers, I don't think the Rays are in that bad of a spot because we know Erod's not a bad pitcher, but he tends to get very unlucky. And for whatever reason it is, it just keeps continuing. And on the season, he's got a 4x FIB, 21% K rate, giving up over 200 ISO so far this season. When you do the Rays, do have some guys that can hit for some power. And Rasmussen obviously gets the much softer matchup here versus Detroit, not a team that I'm really too concerned about. There's a couple of guys that maybe give you a little bit of trouble, but I still think he's a fine play. Now, both these guys have just around a 20% K rate, so it's not like we're getting a ton of strikeout upside, but at their price points, I think it makes them somewhat viable in a very pitcher-friendly park.
24.3% K percentage for Eduardo Rodriguez for his career. We've seen some spike outings from him back in his Red Sox days. I don't know if we're going to see the 27.4% K percentage we saw last season going forward here in Detroit. I'm not really sure exactly what's happening with him. Velocity looks about the same. I'm just going through. Pitch mix looks identical to last season. I mean, I really have nothing to base off of what's going on and why he's not getting swings and misses, but against a team like Tampa where they're able to stack their lineups just according to the handedness that they're going to face, and that ends up kind of being the way that they built it out. Yandy Diaz leading out. We get Wander Franco, Ramirez. You don't even have Brandon Lau, who's generally a guy who, as good as he is, will definitely get Ks. He's not in the lineup. I'm with you. I think I slightly prefer the Rasmussen side. And I can't believe I just said that because I'm generally a stand for Eduardo Rodriguez. But so far this season, not a lot of inspiring form out of him. There is a little bit of positive leverage going his direction in the DK slate. So I think I'm more inclined to take that shot. But as I said, everything pales in comparison to Corbin Burns. Hard for me to want to go out and prioritize an Eduardo Rodriguez. 7.1% for him there. I'm with you. I think I'll take the Rasmussen at 5%, and I probably expect some kind of a major difference between the two. Eduardo Rodriguez has name recognition as well.
And plus the Rays this season versus lefties, we're talking about only an 18.5% K
Yeah.
rate. And Erod's only sitting at about 20% this year, so not a whole lot of upside. If you're playing Erod, you're kind of just hoping he limits the damage and picks up a cheap win, which I don't really think is going to happen today.
Yeah, great point. 18.5%, third best in baseball at avoiding strikeouts against left-handed pitching, 110 WRC plus. Yeah, problematic all the way around. Let's talk bats here because, again, we have some major spots on this slate for offense. San Francisco, Dodgers, Colorado, even Minnesota, I think, a little bit more inclined to take some shots on them today when it's not super late in Oakland in the worst ballpark possible against a ground ball pitcher. But I digress. Let's look here on the offensive side. If you had to stack up one of these teams, do you have a preference?
For me, it's for sure the Rays, just because I hate playing Detroit, and plus I like Rasmussen a little bit more. But yeah, definitely going to be the Rays instead of the Tigers for me.
All right, I love it. I'm going to Tampa Bay too. I have a little bit of exposure, so I guess loving it is definitely the wrong way of saying that. Don't give false impression to the people, but there's a little bit of negative leverage going their way, but pretty easy if you're trying to fit in Corbin Burns to find some kind of salary savers. I'm looking at you, Yandy Diaz, leading off there, 2,800 on the FanDuel slate. On DraftKings, 4,800, a little bit less doable. Harold Ramirez, though, batting third. You get the first base outfield eligibility, 2,800. I bet that's clicked on. And I bet Mejia gets steamed up. We've got him right around 10% right now on DK, 3,400 a catcher. We don't have any of the lineups out for the evening section or specifically for Coors Field yet. So Kurt Casale, who had the slate breaking performance on DK the other night, 2,100. He'll probably end up being the value type du jour, but we'll see where some of these other guys land as lineups start to come out here for the other games. Anything you like from Detroit? Is there a bat you would think about rostering there?
So I'm looking at some of their splits versus lefties. It's not too pretty here. Robbie Grossman's got a sub 100 ISO versus lefties leading off. We'll say Willie Castro. It's a very small sample size this year of 20 plate appearances, but he does have a 263 ISO versus lefties. And you also have Harold Castro with an 11 plate appearance sample size with his 300 ISO. We're talking about very, very small sample sizes. I hate to put anything into it, but maybe a couple of these guys as one-offs. Javier Baez is just kind of expensive for me to get to a one-off, but we know he's got power versus left-handed pitching, but nothing too pretty here.
Yeah, and Tampa Bay side again, you have Paredes, Brujan. You have a lot of interesting cats showing up in the middle of this lineup. I'm not super enthusiastic, but if you wanted to play any of those guys at the top end, specifically Wander Franco at a shortstop position, how can I possibly blame you? We've kind of covered that one already. Somebody just asked here in the chat, isn't Rasmussen hard contact numbers up this season? Yeah, 44.3%. It's kind of not great, but it's a Tigers lineup that I don't find a whole lot of issues with. 50.2% last season. That was horrendous. So he's actually improved in that department, which is fascinating.
He's also only given up about a half a homer allowed per 9 this year, and it's about 100 ISO. So it's not like he's being crushed or anything.
Yeah, I don't feel like it's a stay away thing. I look at Detroit, super low total, have to take some shots going up against this lineup. And they're not going to be very good against right-handed pitching over the course of this season. That is for damn sure. I'm telling you. What exactly is the split? I need the Detroit split. I just need to know. 23.5% K percentage with a 75 WRC plus. That is second worst in baseball. Yes, I'm with you. Drew Rasmussen. Anything else from this game for you?
One thing I need to mention is that I brought up the left-handed splits for the Tigers when I was mentioning versus Rasmussen, so now I feel stupid.
Oh, that's okay. But you're adorable and such a nice human being in the world. Smash that like button for my friend over there. And we're going to move on to the second game on the slate. Once again, we're going to have plenty of time to go through these, and then we will talk stacks. I'm going to have to build out some of my lineups. We just got the Arizona lineup, so if I can kind of slowly, methodically go through some of these games at spots, hopefully we have all the lineups by the time we get to the end of the show. Fingers crossed. Colorado, look at that. El Negro Loco in the chat as well. We've got Colorado Rockies lineup just released. Awesome stuff. That seems important. Logan Webb, that'll be a fun talking point. Let's continue on. Atlanta plus 120 at Milwaukee, 6.5 runs. And I talked about it before, who I believe to be the best pitcher in baseball. His name is one Corbin Burns, and he just so happens to be on this slate today with his 33.5% K percentage. That just makes fun of the rest of this slate in pretty much every sense of the word. If you fade him on DK, you're going to be different than everybody. On FanDuel, if you fade him, you're an insane person. But talk to me about Corbin Burns in this spot against Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think he's one of, if not the best pitcher in baseball right now. $10,000 on DK, 10-3 over on FanDuel. I just have a hard time not almost lock buttoning him. I mean, I just don't see how he really fails. A 2.37 xFIP this year, 33.5% K rate. He doesn't walk anybody, doesn't give up power. Does have over 1 homer allowed per 9 this year, but it does not matter to me. Corbin Burns was elite last year. He's going to be elite so far this season. I see no reason why he can't carve this team up. I will get into a ton of Corbin Burns, and this is definitely a great game for pitching all around.
It's impossible to get away from Corbin Burns. I mean, if you talk to me about him being 80% owned on a 5-game slate, that would be one thing. And obviously, there's going to be a lot of rostership going his direction. On FanDuel, 40%, that ain't enough for me. I feel like I want to be north of that number in my allotment of lineups. Is that an approach you would take on this slate?
Yeah, I don't really care what the ownership is for Corbin Burns today. I'm just going to get overweight on him. I know realize he's going to be super chalky, but sometimes you just have to get leverage instead of going underweight, go pretty much all the way over. That's what I'm going to do with Corbin Burns today. If he fails, I fail, and I'm pretty comfortable with that.
Yeah, and I think you can roster guys like, I don't know, Logan Webb to get a little bit different alongside him on DK. So we can look at to go in that direction, but I'm pretty positive that I'm going to have a ton of Corbin Burns when we get to the end of the show. I think you all should as well. But if I had to pick a bat from the Atlanta side, I mean, how is it not Ronald Acuna every single time? But Matt Olson, probably the guy who's more enthusiastic for me today if I had to take somebody against Burns, but I just don't want to do it.
Yeah, I don't either. Now, you're going to have obviously some massive leverage if the Braves happen to pop off today, but the chances of that happening are very, very slim. I do understand it in a 150 max setting, but if I was building 3 to 20 lineups, I'd have a very hard time getting to any Braves. But yeah, Acuna would be the one guy you'd always want to get to, but at $5,400, that's an expensive one-off versus arguably the best pitcher in baseball. Matt Olson's a little bit cheaper. We know he's got plenty of pop versus righties. Outside of that, nothing I'm really liking to get to.
All right. And now we go to the other side of this game, far more appealing, but also not that appealing. Max Fried on the bump for Atlanta, 23.8% K percentage, a sub-1 whip here, 0.98 on the season. He looks really, really good as a pitching option. On other slates, he might be a guy that I would roster quite a bit. There's negative leverage, though, today, even on DK in the early slate. 10K, 9,300. You pair those two together, and you play the Rockies, and that's going to be one of the chalkiest, if not the chalkiest the Giants, because of their ridiculous, absurd pricing on DK. That is going to be a very popular route that people go. I definitely would, if you were trying to do one of the two paths, play a chalky Sonny Gray or a chalky Max Fried. I prefer the Max Fried side, but price is still a thing. How do you view him on this slate against Milwaukee?
Yeah, I like Max Fried a lot. Now, he's a viable SP2 option if you're going with some more value bats, which is really not that hard to do today with the projected lineup that we have for the Giants. Or you can also go the Sonny Gray route as a really chalky SP2 option. But Max Fried, man, he's just been so good this year with this 2.6 xFIP. Strikeout rate's not as high as maybe you'd like to see it for a guy that's above $9,000, but he doesn't walk anybody, doesn't give up any power. He's got that ground ball lean. Matchup versus the Brewers, I wouldn't say it's a cakewalk matchup. They do have some guys with some pop, but I'm not too concerned here with Max Fried. I think he's going to be just fine. Definitely one of the top pitching options on the slate. I believe for the top pitchers tool, we actually have him fourth with slightly negative leverage, but he's certainly someone I want to get to. Probably end up being my third highest owned pitcher right behind Gray and Corbin Burns. Yeah,
I think he's a pretty easy guy to land on for today's slate. I find it hard to get away from playing some of him on DK. I'm playing a handful of lineups over there, playing more on FanDuel because it's easier to build while you're on a show as lineups start coming out. And obviously you got to be pretty specific about it. We're going up to, what is it in your time? 1:10 p.m. out there on the East Coast, 10 a.m. my time. We have both of these games locking, and it's going to be primarily pitching for me. But let's look at the Milwaukee side and see if there isn't a bat or two we can mine out of there. I still prefer Tampa Bay if you're looking at stacking one of the first four games or one of the first four teams in the two games that lock there. But hard to say that there isn't some interest we should have in a guy like Hunter Renfroe, a notorious lefty killer. Anybody else that you really want to get to from the Milwaukee lineup?
Yeah, just to reference how much of a lefty killer he is. So far this season, 34 plate appearances versus lefties. We're talking a 516 ISO, 187 WRC plus, and a 774 slugging. He is absolutely murdering left-handed pitching. So yes, if you're going to use anybody from this team, for me, it's definitely going to be Hunter Renfroe. You could also look at Tyrone Taylor if you just want a cheapie there. He's $2,100 on FanDuel, $3,300 on DraftKings. Outside of that, Colton Wong leading off as a lefty, Christian Yelich is a lefty. They kind of get neutered a little bit versus them. For me, it'd be kind of Hunter Renfroe as a one-off, and outside of that, not a whole lot of interest.
He might be my favorite bat from everybody in the early section of games. Do you know his ownership right now?
I don't have it pulled up yet.
1% on DraftKings.com.
Yeah, I mean, it's not hard to get leverage on that. That's for sure.
I can't imagine that's what he's going to be, but projected for 1.9% on FanDuel.com at 3K. Over the field is the right way to do it with Hunter Renfroe in that spot. Tyrone Taylor, that's what he's supposed to do, but not really there for him at the moment. Keston Hero would be really off the board. I don't think I can do that. He keeps getting sent down because he decides to just swing and miss all the time. That's bad. 47.6% K percentage. Seems bad to me. How about to you, Chris?
Yeah, and 44% versus lefties, so it's not much better in that regard either.
It's absurd. Well, that kind of covers this one. A very pitching-centric. Anything else that you want to really be looking at from this game other than just play Hunter Renfroe if he's going to be not popular?
That's really about it. I mean, everything else is not that impressive, and I'd rather get my exposure elsewhere, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so too. One thing that I think you guys want in terms of exposure is the Awesemo Plus tools. That was kind of a forced segue. I didn't mean to really do that, but you guys know what I'm getting at. We have MLB Live as the promo code for this show today. 50% off your first month of Awesemo Plus Platinum using MLB Live at checkout. Would you like all the premium content that both Chris and myself keep referencing throughout the show? The top stacks tool, the top pitchers tool, the lineup builder, the projections on DraftKings, FanDuel, no matter what you want, ownership projections, we've got it covered for you in the MLB department. And if you use MLB Live, all caps, one word, get taking advantage of this Awesemo Plus Platinum deal right now. It's $18.95 for the weekly package if you just want all the MLB DFS stuff, but why wouldn't you want everything behind the paywall? Chris doing a phenomenal job with the NASCAR product. I'm hanging out in the NBA streets, much to B Swifty's chagrin there. He's not very happy about such things. But such is life. I love it over here at Awesemo, and I think you guys will too. $18.95 for that weekly package. Stop guessing, start winning. There we go. Stop guessing, start winning. I covered it. Good thing it's my first show today. Join Awesemo Plus today. MLB Live. Use that promo code. All right, my friend. 3 more games. Then we'll be building lineups. We'll be talking through some stuff. So this one's a doozy. And I think there's a lot of ins and outs we need to talk about for a 5-game slate because leverage is a thing. Chalky offense is a thing. There's so many places to go, but it is the Colorado Rockies at home taking on the San Francisco Giants with their hefty total. And compared to the last couple of days where the Giants have gone drastically under-owned compared to what I think the field thought they were going to be, I think they're going to be insanely popular today. At least that's what I'm thinking. And I'm hoping because it's a team that I want to find ways away from if I can. On the bump here for Colorado in this spot, we've got Kyle Freeland. Do I think Kyle Freeland's a great pitcher? No, I do not. But is there any way that he can hold strong against the San Francisco lineup today?
I mean, looking at the numbers, it would suggest probably not, especially in Coors Field, 15.5% K rate this season, an ISO above 170. Does have a ground ball lean, I will give him that, but over a 35% hard contact rate, a 4 xFIP, which isn't terrible for a guy that's $5,000, but San Francisco's got lots of good bats, and they pinch hit a lot, so they're always in usually positive spots. It's going to be tough for me to want to get to Kyle Freeland. I'm going to look at the top pitchers tool, and I'm assuming he's going to have at least maybe a little bit of positive leverage. Yeah, about 4.5%
sure does
leverage, but
yeah,
it's slim pickings for Kyle Freeland. It's going to be a very tough path for him to be optimal. And especially with the way Coors Field's been hitting recently, the temperature's been up a little bit and they've been popping off. I do think it's going to be a pretty rough outing for Kyle Freeland.
So here's the thing. It depends on what your goals are. Like my goal is to try to finish first every single time that I play MLB DFS. And I try to think of the best path to do it. And usually the best path to do it is through positive leverage in some way, shape, or form. Is there any way that you can really stack up the San Francisco team in a unique way or have a path for a lineup where you have a 5-man on DK, a 4-man for FanDuel purposes? Is there somebody in mind or a lineup, like a build in mind for you where you could find a way to get different? Because on a 5-game slate, if a team with a bunch of 40% bats goes nuts, you still might not min cash in that type of a scenario.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be tough. I think one way you can try to do it, and these guys are not going to be completely forgotten about, but targeting some lefties versus Kyle Freeland, because if they're going to be in the lineup, you want to worry about the pinch hit risk if they're already starting versus the lefties. So you could look to Yastrzemski, Brandon Crawford, Brandon Belt. The thing is, if you kind of leave off a guy like Austin Slater, who could potentially get, pinch hit for a guy like Jock Peterson at some point, that's possibly one way to do it, but it's going to be very tough to get some positive leverage with the Giants today. But above a 6 implied run total, and these guys are not expensive at all.
See, that's kind of the fun part, though, of this slate today is simply the pinch hitting risk. And I'm bringing this up because I feel like I'm an insane person. And I mean, in a 10,000 person tournament with San Francisco, would you be willing? And this is the dumbest thing I've ever asked anybody on a show, so I apologize. Congratulations. Is there any way you might play Jock Peterson today as a one-off, knowing that he will pinch hit at some point?
How many lineups do I get to make today?
You get to make 150.
I don't think a few lineups with Peterson would be the worst thing on a small slate. If this was like an 11 gamer, there's no chance I'm doing that. But on a small slate like this, I wouldn't hate the idea of just throwing in a couple of percentages of him. Maybe not even a couple, maybe just a couple lineups.
He's going to be under 1%.
Yeah.
And this is, once again, the dumbest thing I've ever brought up on a show. But in terms of a path, you want to talk about pinch hit risk. Well, once Jock Peterson gets into the game, it's pretty impossible for him to come out of the game at that point after pinch hitting. So it's just something that I've thought about. I've been waiting to utilize it on like a 2 or a 3 game slate. A 5-game slate feels very, very thin to do this kind of insane thing that I've thought about. But if you're going to do it, you might as well do it in Coors as opposed to when they're in San Francisco. I would never in a million years do it for San Francisco purposes. But I'm just saying, you could get a sub 1% Jock Peterson with 2 at-bats. That seems better than, an Austin Slater starting at 40% or 50% on FanDuel who gets 2 at-bats.
Yeah, and I certainly understand that from a leverage stand. It's not going to feel nice doing it. If you were building 1 or 5 lineups today, please don't do that. If you are someone that does 150 max, I don't think it's the worst idea in the world to maybe manually put in a projection for Peterson and then get him to pop up a couple of times.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. You didn't say it was the dumbest idea ever. So I appreciate you at least kind of hearing my crazy, because again, sometimes I have crazy ideas because in GPPs, you want to try to think outside the box from time to time. And a 5-game slate makes more sense to do it than a 10-game slate, obviously. But I wish it were like a 2 or a 3-game slate to do something like that. Maybe if you play like the afternoon slate or whatever it might be, there's got to be some kind of a turbo slate on a 3-gamer where you can play a 1 or 2% chalk Peterson and know that there's a high leverage situation he could get one at bat in.
Yeah, and we know he can absolutely crush right into pitching, and Coors Field, this is a prime spot to do it. I can agree with that. It's just not going to feel good doing it. That's for sure.
Not a crazy idea. We know they're going to pinch hit. Yes, that's what we know. And a lot of teams, the Dodgers created this monster. Nobody wants to see Marshall anymore. They want Shady on chopped liver. See what I did there?
I listened to
Tyler like it. Tyler didn't give me anything from that. Wow. Okay. Well, let's talk Logan Webb, because this is a really interesting conversation on the other side of this one. On the bump for this season, just not doing very well compared to last season, but negative regression I think was always going to be in store. 16.2% K percentage is abysmal. I want guys who can at least miss bats, but everything else across the board looks decent. 3.29 expected ERA, 390 expected slugging, a little bit up from last season, but still decent enough. 307 xWOBA. I find it hard to believe that he's going to be a priority in any kind of way, shape, or form for me on either site. But if I'm looking for a crazy off the board play for FanDuel purposes at pitcher, I think he's the guy. I think for DK, he's also the guy in terms of positive leverage. 10.4% leverage we're getting going his direction. Top 2 percentage of 11.4%. It's not enthusiastic. It's an afternoon game in Coors, but I'm going to have some Logan Webb. How about you?
Yeah, if you can just kind of look past that 16.2% K, which is not something I really want to look past, but their other numbers are really good. Like you said, a 3.5 xFIP. He's not giving him much power. He's got about 60% ground ball rate, only a 26% hard contact rate, which is the lowest of all the pitchers on the slate today, and only 0.2 homers allowed per 9. So it's not like he's getting blown up or anything. He's been fine from a run prevention standpoint. He's just not missing bats, which is what you kind of need for a guy that's going to be in that mid 8K price point. But if we can get some positive leverage on him, I don't hate it. The Rockies aren't the scariest lineup in the world. And I do think the Giants should be able to pick him up a win as long as he can go the 5+ innings, which I think he should be able to do in this game. So I don't think Logan Webb's a bad tournament play at all.
Yeah, I think he has to be considered. And the Colorado Rockies lineup, which we just got in, has a guy named Brian Serven, who I've never heard of in my entire life. Let's click on his StatCast portfolio. Only minor league numbers. The Albuquerque Isotopes. I love that name. Could not enjoy it more. 912 OPS, 406 OBP, 273 average. Let's see, 5 homers. There we go. That's what we're looking for. AAA this season. That's in 96 plate attempts. So in Albuquerque, that's elevation, y'all. And that's a fantastic AAA ballpark to be hitting in. The PCL is just a joke when it comes to offense. It's really hard for me to always get a barometer on how they're going to translate, but it is Coors Field. So you're going to have him in your portfolio regardless. I just got to make sure. Is he on the DraftKings?
I don't see prices for him on DK or FanDuel.
Son of a biscuit. What are we doing here, guys? Why do we not have a guy who's the backup catcher in AAA listed on your sites? What is wrong with you people? What do you do on a day-to-day basis that you don't have his name in there?
I agree.
Whatever. I'm upset. That just really pissed me off. How do you not have Brian Serven in the whatever? Let's talk offense, because that's really what I think a lot of people want to talk about. Broken pricing is the right way of saying it. I think on both sides of it. Kyle Freeland, we'll see who ends up leading off. I'm doubting it's Tommy La Stella, but he gets buried to the bottom. I could see Estrada moved up. I could see a lot of ways that they build out this lineup. We know Darren Ruff, Austin Slater, very probable to be a part of that lineup. Very probable either one of them to get pinch hit for by the aforementioned Jock Peterson. So be on the lookout there. But who stands out to you bats wise from the San Francisco side?
I mean, really just about everybody here. Yeah, I mean, we can talk about it a little bit, like Slater versus lefties, a 172 ISO, or Flores, notoriously usually very good versus lefties, a 136 ISO, 150 for Bell, 143 for Ruff. Longoria's got a 250, Yastrzemski at 200, which is actually, lefty on lefty. I don't mind that at all as far as a tournament play. I mean, he might be a little bit lower owned just because it's a lefty on lefty spot, but at some point should end up seeing a righty. Crawford, Bart. We'll see if Casale's in there. It's hard not to like all these guys.
Yeah, let's have a deeper conversation about the pinch hit thing from the normal perspective, which is how you handle a projection with them, how you handle your exposure to them when you know they're very, very vulnerable to get pinch hit for. It's why I stay away from Hanzo Alberto when he shows up in the Dodgers lineup on the back half. I usually remove him from certain situations. Yes, he's super cheap, but 2 at bats in tournaments these days, especially with how soft pitching pricing has been. Like Corbin Burns, if he was 12K, 13K, if I had to think about it, I would play some Hanzo Alberto in those type of situations. But how do you handle it on a slate like this where you know they're going to jump into a bunch of lineups if you're projecting them out, if you're playing 5-mans, 4-mans from the San Francisco side on DraftKings or FanDuel? How do you handle the likes of Austin Slater, projected to lead off, and then, of course, Darren Ruff?
So I think in tournaments, you almost have to take the underweight approach. If I'm building like a cash game lineup, because I know a couple nights ago I played Lamont Wade, Jock Peterson, all the lefties from the San Francisco Giants. And then Senzatella, what's he do? He gets hurt in like the first inning. They brought in a lefty. I lost like half my lineup, it felt like, because they all got pinch hits. So I got like 2 total hits in my main lineup that one night. Absolutely sucked. I think taking the underweight approach is fine. If you're playing cash games, yeah, you're going to play Austin Slater. You're going to play those guys. No questions asked. But as far as tournaments go, like to kind of manually bump down their projections a little bit so they pop up less and then try to get the underweight.
I think it's also one of those things for me for tournament purposes where I like, if there are lefties, I assume Yastrzemski is going to be in that lineup. He might go undervalued because it's left on left, but his chances of getting pinch hit for go down drastically if he's in that starting lineup. Is that something you ever think about?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if Yastrzemski's going to start versus lefty, I don't see a situation where he ever comes out, because why would you switch in Peterson for Yastrzemski at that point? So he's pretty much locked in, so you're going to get the full at bat. So I usually feel very comfortable with that.
Same. So that's kind of one of the other things. And they always end up a little bit lower owned. Obviously, you should still probably have exposure to those guys, but I'm always very, very hesitant, especially when it's a 5-game slate like this, where I already don't want this team to succeed. Also, Steven Leibowitz, once again, we have half an hour. We're going to have 2 more games. This is such an important discussion point, though, for strategy, for everything that has to do with this slate. He says if the Giants have a good lead, they don't have to pinch hit. Depends how you feel about Webb. The game has a 1-run difference in implying totals between San Francisco and Colorado. We're talking 1 run. And if you can predict blowouts to that kind of extent, just bet sides, just bet -1.5, and don't play DFS. Just haul money if you can predict that time to time. But it is so hard to predict something like that occurring. I do feel all right about Logan Webb. I said I feel all right in terms of, like, he's not the worst pitcher on planet Earth. He's pitching in Coors against an offense in the afternoon, and he could absolutely get lit up, but I feel better about him than Kyle Freeland. But the line is -140 San Francisco, -160 it was earlier. It's gone down to -140. I can't possibly analyze anything with Logan Webb that has to do with how a team gets pinch hit for or not pinch hit for.
Yeah, and one thing to mention about blowouts, like last night, the Giants were up pretty big versus the Rockies, and then they had that 1 inning where I believe Grichuk got a grand slam. I think someone else went deep, and they're right back in the game. So it's not really something I would ever worry about much at all as far as baseball is concerned.
And Bulldogger, isn't this stuff included in the projections? Yes, it'll be slightly decreased, but you're still going to get tons of them because it's hard for Slater. It's hard for Ruff. It's hard for those guys not to show up in lineups regardless. I'm not saying you shouldn't play these guys because they have pinch hit risk. I'm just saying that don't be shocked if you get 2 or 3 at bats maximum from these guys any given day, depending on the leverage situation, depending on so many other factors. So I'm just always inclined to be way under the field on guys like that. But let's move to the Colorado side. Everybody from San Francisco, yay, you can roster them all. We actually have the lineup, though, here, the catcher that is not available to us. We don't even have to talk about, but 1 through 8 here. Who stands out to you from the Colorado side?
Yeah, as far as the Rockies go, it does not feel great paying up for $5,000 for Charlie Blackmon these days. Jonathan Daza, $3,500. CJ Cron, I know I prefer him versus lefties, but he's been absolutely on fire this year. Tons of power. Had a great game last night. I think he's in a, I'm not sure I'd call it a good spot at $6,000 versus Logan Webb, but I'd still play him. Ryan McMahon, $4,700. He's got pop versus righties. Randall Grichuk, I think, is fine. He went deep last night, but it's definitely not as appealing of a lineup, but you're going to get some lower ownership on them, which does make them a little bit more appealing for tournaments. Yeah,
I'm looking at everybody from this side as pretty stackable. in terms of the top stacks tool as well. Colorado, positive leverage, which is absurd. So when I say I'm going to have Logan Webb, I'm also going to have a lot of Colorado bats. I think I'm much more inclined to play them. They're going to be drastically undervalued. CJ Cron, shout out. Yeah, 5,800 on DraftKings.com. Yo, how you doing? That's a big number to be looking at. FanDuel, though, this team is really, really cheap as well. I got to imagine Jonathan Daza, he's been a guy that I've been just skipping a lot in these lineups, and it hasn't really burned me. Will he hit a home run ever? That is the question I have for you. Will Daza ever hit a home run ever?
I mean, at some point, probably maybe like a Michael Brantley style home run, but on the season, a .063 ISO. He is batting almost 400. I'll give him
382. That. I know why he's batting second. I just have been removing him from my pool because the home run potential is non-existent.
Yeah. He's fine to get on base a lot and get runs, but you're probably not going to get that home run upside, but you almost, have to get it in tournaments, but you're going to want it.
But he doesn't even run.
I know.
He's the most frustrating roster. So I've just been removing him from my pool, stacking up Colorado lately. Watch, I just talked him into a 25-point DraftKings outburst today. So enjoy that at 3,500. But once again, I'm not going his direction. I do hate the back half of this lineup. Hilliard is horrendous. Hampson is supposed to be fast, but also horrendous. The back half of the lineup is pretty brutal. I will say that. But 1 through 6, I'm pretty comfortable. Just 1, 2. I'm just talking myself into hand building 1, 3, 4, 5, 6 over and over again.
I feel like Daz is going to have a good game now just because you're spiting him so much. That's how it works.
Yeah, that is how it works. You know what? I can hedge that exposure. You know where I can do that, my friend?
Let's hear it.
Prize Picks, prizepicks.com, the sponsor here of the MLB early slate live before lock. You like that segue. It was a lot better. Tyler, thumbs up. Yay. We got a pulse. Tyler Xander, everybody. He's in Texas. He's too cool for us. He's just chilling out on his ranch doing the thing. It's all right. I don't know. I have to send you something also too from College Station. I saw a funny thing on Twitter yesterday, but either way, prizepicks.com, daily prop based contests. It's so fun. It's so easy over there. And you can play cross sports, not just MLB, but yesterday was a great day in the NBA streets. If you were able to react to that Miami news early, Prize Picks, they do a great job of putting up props that are fair, that are available there in the NBA streets, as well as giving you guys tons of opportunity to get free money into your pockets. How? Using promo code Awesemo for $100 first match deposit bonus, in addition to 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum when you sign up using the link in the description of this video below, or just right there on the screen. Sign up at awesemo.com/prizepicks-promo. Use promo code Awesemo and take advantage of all of those offers. I'm looking at that site today. I mean, I don't know the last time I didn't play the over on a Corbin Burns strikeout prop. It feels like I'm just going to continue to do it until the cows come home. So there you go. Corbin Burns, 8.5. I ain't scared. 8.5 strikeouts. Lock it up for Corbin Burns on the over. Anything you love on the Prize Picks board for today? Any prop that sticks out to you, my friend?
Well, I should probably pull up the website first, huh? Mm-hmm. Hold on. Let's see. As far as the Prize Picks go, I always like to give it strikeouts. I had Shane McClanahan last night, and he had 7 strikeouts with 5 more outs to go. I needed the over on 7.5. Absolutely burned me.
Oh.
So I'm a little bit sour tasted on that. But for me, I don't mind the Sonny Gray over 5.5. He's got about a 30% K rate so far this season facing Oakland, who's been horrendous versus righties this year. Lineups week. I think the Sonny Gray over 5.5 paired with Corbin Burns is a pretty solid way to go.
CJ Cron is at 1.5 total bases.
Oh, I know we kind of like Logan Webb a little bit, but it's hard not to like that as good as he's been this year.
Who, darling? Yeah. Let's add that to the portfolio. Here's the thing. That game doesn't lock till a little bit later. We'll have an opportunity to go back and revisit that, but I'm looking at 1.5 bases for him. Ryan McMahon, the combination of the two, get some correlation there. And then playing that with my Corbin Burns. Actually, you know what? I'm building it out here while we're on the show. Corbin Burns, I want it. I need it. I got to have it. Let's do it right there. Bang. All right. I'm on the board for that. Corbin Burns over. I just did the Ryan McMahon and CJ Cron over 1.5 bases together. That's going to be good stuff. Green checkmark coming into the fray. I need SF checkmarks. Did you guys talk Tigers? Yes, Rob, we did a little bit earlier there. Just rewind, go check it out. But also, while you're at it, check out Prize Picks. Use that promo code Awesemo, $100 first match deposit bonus, plus 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. What could be better than Do You Like My Sweater? Thank you so much to them for their sponsorship of the MLB Live Before Lock show today. Let's do it, my friend. Stephen Leibowitz, I understand. You are just fine. I appreciate the talking points. I just always like talking points. 2 more games. We have lots of talking points about them, don't we? Minnesota, my Minnesota Twins, minus 155 at Oakland, 7 total runs there in this one. Sonny Gray on the mound, 31.7% K percentage over the course of this season so far. And yet the price in Oakland against this lineup hasn't changed. I think if you're looking for a cash game SP2, he makes the most sense depending on, Max Fried, I slightly prefer just in terms of straight up, but I think he's going to end up more popular. I think you can just stack up cores and have some fun, have some Dodgers in your life by going the Sonny Gray route, but just way too cheap for this kind of upside that he started to show in the early going of this season. Did my Twins get just so lucky and pick up a surging Sonny Gray out of the middle of nowhere?
It's quite possible. I've always been a bit of a fan of Sonny Gray. I did just take that over on Prize Picks for his 5.5. So I am pretty confident in him today. I do like the spot quite a bit. 31.7% carry to start the season. But there is some negatives to look at with Sonny Gray. 14% walk rate, 41% fly ball rate, 40% hard contact rate, and close to 2 homers allowed per 9. The good thing is we're dealing with about a 15 inning sample size. So those numbers are, I don't think something's going to keep up throughout the season, but this is such a good spot versus Oakland. 25% carry for them versus righties this year. They don't walk much. They have 0 power, a 67 WRC plus. I think the Twins are a pretty decent stack today. Only a 3 implied run total against them, like the win equity. I'm definitely a big fan of Sonny Gray at that price point today on both sides.
It's hard not to be, and he's going to be popular. He should be popular. We'll recap our pitchers at the very end, just kind of talk about any positive leverage, because Logan Webb, Drew Rasmussen, I think are kind of the two. If you're looking for a very different SP2, I'm not going to be fading Corbin Burns on any site ever from now until the end of time or until he regresses, which might be a while. I feel like he's just a smash every single time out and impossible to get away from. But Sonny Gray, I will still get away from a little bit more. I'm more inclined to do that and get to more Max Fried, more Corbin Burns if need be. So just something to be talking about, paying attention to as we get into the latter stages of this show. 22 minutes here, or I guess 27 minutes before lock, 10 a.m. my time. Let's look on the other side of this one here. Dalton Jeffries, who I don't completely hate his prospects here today. The major difference today from yesterday is Byron Buxton back in the lineup. Byron Buxton and Carlos Correa both re-entering this Minnesota lineup is drastically different than the likes of, I don't know, Celestino, Nick Gordon batting 9th, thank God, as opposed to batting 5th yesterday. What are we doing, Minnesota? But I digress. Much better lineup today, but it is Oakland. How do you feel about Dalton Jeffries as a really off-the-board SP2?
Oh, I've just never been a fan of rostering Jeff. He just doesn't strike anybody out. 15% K rate. Doesn't walk anybody out. We'll give him that. Doesn't allow too much hard contact. But with Carlos Correa and Byron Buxton back in the lineup, 2 very, very great hitters. And obviously Byron Buxton, one of the best in the entire league. The implied run total is not terrible versus Jeffries. It's just sitting under 4 right now. But I just don't think he's going to do enough to hit. I don't know if I'd rather get the Kyle Freeland versus the San Francisco Giants just to get leverage, but I'd almost lean that way. I just don't really like rostering Jeffries. And I think the Twins are one of not my favorite stack in the slate, but they're kind of right there with as far as the Giants and the Dodgers for me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the Twins have to be considered pretty highly now today. And if you're looking to avoid Coors and looking to avoid the Dodgers, this might be the team for you guys. I'm looking up and down this lineup, much improved here for the Minnesota side. Obviously Buxton, obviously Correa at the shortstop position, but Kepler, don't be sleeping on him either. Not that I put him; he's going to be more popular than Hunter Renfroe, and I definitely prefer Hunter Renfroe between the two. But don't mind it. Plus, almost 70 degrees in Oakland is kind of a win when you get afternoon baseball there, as opposed to evening baseball with the marine layer coming in. How do you feel about the Twins here?
Yeah, like I said, outside of Coors and the Dodgers, I'm probably going to get to the Twins, probably the third most on this slate, probably more so than the Rockies. But yeah, I like them quite a bit. Buxton and Correa, getting them back in the lineup, while they're pretty expensive, it does make the stack a little bit harder to afford. It just obviously gives it a lot more upside. Buxton at 361 ISO to righties this season. Hori Polanco batting cleanups, he got 211. I've always liked rostering Max Kepler. He always is in a decent price point. He's got a bit of pop in his bat versus right-handed pitching. Also, 18% K rate this year, which I believe is a little bit less than what he's been doing in the past. I know we're dealing with smaller sample sizes, but I think the 1 through 6 doesn't look too bad with Gary Sanchez there. I believe he went deep last night, and he's got a 230 ISO this season versus right-handed pitching.
Smashing baseballs. There we go. I was muted. It's bad. Again, first show. What can you do? Dalton Jeffries, though, I'll still get to some shares of, even with that abysmal 15.3% K percentage. It's a five game slate. We have to have some interest in getting off the board different somewhere. Just by removing Sonny Gray and putting in Dalton Jeffries, you've gotten very, 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 very different. So throwing that out there. Do I prefer Sonny Gray by a mile? Sure, but I want to get converted or I want to convert on some W's when I am correct about things where it's just a high leverage situation, and getting off of the super chalk Sonny Gray feels better than getting off the super chalk Corbin Burns. I think we've kind of agreed on that. Oakland, though, this is very fascinating because they have a 3.1 implied run total because they are just not very good, but they're always positively leveraged. They are the most positively leveraged team on this early slate at 4.6%. Their top value score of 20%, which is less than the Giants because the Giants are just abysmally priced on DraftKings. But I have a little bit of Oakland exposure today. I don't feel good about it. It's probably not going to come to fruition. But Seth Brown, Chad Pinder, Noose, of course, you can get to a lot of these guys. Who stands out to you from Oakland?
Seth Brown's a guy I've rostered from time to time because he does have some pop in his bat. So far this season, 102 play appearance sample size, 176 ISO versus righties. And as of right now, I believe that's the best on the current roster besides that's a smaller sample size. So as far as like decent sample sizes go, Seth Brown, I would say he's got the best chance to probably go deep in this lineup. But if you're just looking from top to bottom, this is a bottom 5 team as far as batting average, WOBA, ISO, WRC plus slugging goes as far as going facing right-handed pitching. So it's not pretty. They are dirt cheap though, and Sonny Gray is going to be massively chalk, which he's not the most locked down pitcher in the world. He's certainly susceptible to blow up. So I don't hate it as far as a cheap leverage spot.
All right. I'm going to have a little bit. It feels awful, but you got to play these spots with positive leverage whenever you can. In the long run, that'll come to fruition. Even if it doesn't come to fruition today, I have to have some Oakland exposure. It doesn't feel good. I don't want to, but I'm going to do it. Seth Brown, definitely probably my favorite bat in that lineup. Anything else from this game before we move on to the Dodgers, build out the rest of our lineups and talk through everything that we just did as a recap, pitchers, stacks, one-offs, everything at the end.
Yeah, as far as this game goes, I'm going to be a lot more exposed to the Twins side as far as pitching and bats, but I don't mind getting some A's as well. All
right. Well, this is a fun talking point. Do you like gossip? Like, do you like sports gossip? Do you like dramatic stuff happening?
Sure, from time to time.
Google Zach Davies' wife. Just have fun. Zach Davies abandoned his wife and just like cheated on her, met up with some other chick, and is divorcing her. And still is to this day, from the time he left, she thought nothing was wrong. It is one of the most fascinating rabbit holes I've ever gone down on twitter.com. It is not great. Everybody's all up in arms about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. I am much more interested about why Zach Davies just went cold turkey on this chick. She posted this long Instagram message. It is such gold. Everybody go look at it because Zach Davies might be the worst person on planet Earth, but he's also going to be the worst pitcher on planet Earth. I hope today. Arizona Diamondbacks, 3 implied runs going up against the Dodgers, 5.5. Again, Zach Davies, 19.3% K percentage so far this season. But guess what? He is not going to even maintain that. He is not even remotely close to any kind of a strikeout pitcher. He's limited hard contact so far this season, but it's called negative regression, and it's going to happen to him. He had a 6.31 expected ERA in 2021. That was the bottom 3% of baseball here. He's had a 3.66 ERA so far this season. I do not believe that he's just magically found something in his first couple of starts throughout this season. I'm going to stack up against him at will with the Dodgers. Vegas has no qualms about it. Do you have any qualms about it?
Yeah, no Zach Davies for me. I feel pretty good about having just about 0% Zach Davies. Since not a good pitcher, I never roster him. He's got about a 5 implied run total against him. Terrible win equity. Probably going to get smashed against the best offense in baseball, or at least one of the best offenses in baseball. And with what I'm reading on this website that I just clicked on, at least we have a narrative now to stack against him.
Isn't that so great? I mean, It is absurd. Zach Davies might be the worst person ever, which is Just fantastic. Oh, can you ping me? I lost that thread we were talking about. Okay. That was a work thing. Cool. I will find that here. I am looking at a number of different Dodgers here on the other side that I want to get to. But before we do, Walker Buehler, he is going to be very, very unowned. The guy, I don't really know what to say about him because it's Walker Buehler. He's $300 more than Corbin Burns, and that is incorrect. He got hit up by the Phillies, which I'm going to give anybody a pass for. He still has a 2.81 ERA, still has 35 Ks over the course of seven starts this season, averaging just around 5 per start, which, isn't elite, isn't 10-3 on DK. But if he's going to be underowned, how do we not pull the trigger on a lot of Walker Buehler today?
Yeah, I think you have to get to some. Now, the thing is, the more Walker Buehler you get to, the less Corbin Burns you're probably going to get to. But I think that's fine because they have similar upside. Obviously, I trust the strikeouts more with Corbin Burns, but this is a great matchup for Walker Buehler. And as of right now in the top pitchers tool, at least last time I looked, he has the best positive leverage score as of right now of all pitchers. And if you can get that with a guy like Walker Buehler, you almost always have to take that because the guy's obviously a fantastic pitcher. Now, his numbers this season wouldn't suggest he should be the most expensive pitcher, a 3.6 xFIP, a 20% K rate. For a guy being the most expensive pitcher, you want that strikeout rate sitting around 37% like it is with Corbin Burns. And even Sonny Bray's got a 31.7% strikeout rate this year, albeit a smaller sample size. But as a righty versus the Diamondbacks, they have certainly struggled versus right-handed pitching this year with a 25.5% K rate and 86 WRC plus. It's a pitcher friendly park in LA. Good win equity. Had to assume Walker Buehler is probably going to cruise this entire game.
Stadio Wizzy, we'll talk about Corbin Burns again when we kind of recap everything. 41.6% hard hit percentage, 3.69 expected ERA. Yeah, those can be concerning. But when you have a K percentage north of 33%, it is impossible to get away from looking at somebody as a high DFS floor option because the strikeouts still get factored into any type of a floor.
Yeah. And I mean, he's just been like 2.37 xFIP this year. Doesn't walk anybody, doesn't give any power. I know Atlanta definitely has guys that can do a lot of damage, but at the same time, Corbin Burns can do a lot of damage versus them as well.
Rob Martin, I'm on Lux Barnes. Let's talk the Dodgers because there's always one bat that I'm in love with. And yesterday, if you were paying attention at home, and again, I got punished anyway on the slate. I thought I was going to do really, really well. And then you just basically needed to have the most chalky one-off in Aaron Judge combined with Houston and then hit the nuts everywhere else. But I had a ton of Edwin Rios, and it made me feel sharp because they played a doubleheader yesterday. And Edwin Rios has been batting a lot against righties over the course of this season. Zach Davies, I bet they have Justin Turner in the lineup today, so it's probably not something to pay attention to today. But if you get Rios in there, do not fail to pull the trigger. He goes into that category of guys who can get pitch hit for, but generally against righties. And you want to talk about a Dodgers lineup. This is a 2.5 run difference between Arizona and the Dodgers, as opposed to 1 for San Francisco and Colorado. So if you want to talk about the difference in pitching between Buehler and Davies and the difference in lineups between Dodgers and Arizona, far more prevalent here than what we have in Coors Field.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you on as far as the Dodgers go today. I absolutely love them. I mean, if you just look at their numbers top to bottom, there is not one bad bat in this lineup. Like a lot of teams will have a really great 1 through 5 or 1 through 6 and it falls off a cliff. But when you have Bellinger, Chris Taylor, Gavin Lux as your bottom 3, at least projected as of right now, it's just hard not to like it because they can easily get back to the top of the order. It's not like it's going to fizzle out as it goes on. So, I mean, you can sign me up for all the Dodgers. You can make a case for them being the best stack on the slate, even over the Giants.
Yep. I'm going to be heavy on Dodgers today. I think there's negative leverage to be had going to them. It looks like actually more negative leverage than what's with San Francisco. Might have to revisit that, but fortunately we don't have the Dodgers lineup yet here. And I think that might help mitigate some of the roster shift that goes their direction. We'll be able to see how popular these first 2 games are and kind of base off of San Francisco, kind of have an idea of where other people might land. But I'm hoping that lineup doesn't come out for a long time because that'll definitely cut into some of the ownership, I would imagine. But Zach Davies, again, he has God against him today. He's a bad person. I'll stop saying that. No, I won't. He's a terrible person. Arizona on the other side, 3 implied runs going up against Walker Buehler. And I suppose Stadio Wizzy was talking about Buehler, not Corbin Burns. I misread that. I apologize. But yeah, I do have concerns about what we've seen out of Walker Buehler, other than one start where he was just absolutely magnificent, just went the distance and was an absolute stud. 9 innings pitched, 108 pitches, 46.9 DraftKings points. it's been kind of a lukewarm season by Walker Buehler's estimations. 1.18 whip, still good, but not elite, not 10-3. Do you have concerns, and do you have any interest in Arizona bats on the other side?
I do think Walker Buehler is overpriced today, but at the same time, it's a small slate, and he's not going to be nearly as high owned as I think he should be. So I do think we have to get at least a little bit overweight on Walker Buehler in a good spot versus Arizona. But the Diamondbacks do have a couple of guys that could give him trouble. Dalton Varshall is a guy I love using versus right-handed pitching, especially since he's got catcher eligibility. The problem is DraftKings stopped making him free where we could play him every single night. Used to be like $3,500. Now he's
with catcher eligibility and like just living your life. I mean, does he still have catcher eligibility? I don't think he does anymore. Yeah, he does. Never mind. Catcher and outfielder. That's normal.
Yeah, they took it away, then they gave it back for some reason, but take it. But at nearly $5,000, it's tough to get to him. Then after that, there's just not a lot of good bats. You have Rojas, Pavin Smith, Christian Walker, Peralta. That's why I'm kind of leaning towards just being overweight on Walker Buehler instead of getting to any of the Diamondbacks.
Is Alec Thomas for real right now? Like, is this something that's going to continue for Alec Thomas? Because he's off to a pretty incredible start for his big league career. 323 average, 2 homers, 957 OPS. He's been batting 8th routinely for this Arizona team, just slammed at the bottom half of it. I don't really know what to make of it because I'm going through some of the AAA stuff. He was second round pick in 2018. He's been crushing baseballs, though. Is this something that could continue?
It's possible. It's not something I'm super interested in today, but like you said, he's batting over 300, close to a 400 WOBA, a 261 ISO so far. It's only like 20 some plate appearances. So we're dealing with very small sample sizes. But I mean, if you're just looking for a dirt cheap guy that's been hot, he's $2,300, $2,500 on FanDuel. He's batting in the bottom of the order though, which kind of sucks.
348 average against righties with a 739 slugging and a 1.114 OPS.
Yeah, that's pretty good for his price point. Again, though, we are dealing with small sample sizes.
Yeah, he has him listed as 175 pounds. I think that's about accurate. He looks so small up at the plate. I was watching both I had on and off the doubleheader from yesterday throughout the day, and just couldn't believe how small he looked up at the plate, and then just murders a baseball homer last night. And it just kind of caught my attention. So in the 8 hole, I want to call that 2,300. Alec Thomas goes deep off of Walker Buehler today. How about that for your contrarian play of the day?
I'm here for it. I don't mind it.
I still prefer my Jock Peterson exposure. I have 4% of him. I feel like a psychopath, but hey, those are the baseball games that we were given, those 5 games early slate. We've got 12 minutes before lock. I'm going to be revamping some of my lineups. If you guys have questions, this is the Live Before Lock show. We want to help you. We want to help us help you. Help us help you is what we're going for here. Looking forward to it. Also, Jock Peterson, much better showdown play. I'm going to play him in showdown here also because that's going to be enjoyable. But let's get those fired up. To recap, let's go through pitchers. Obviously, Corbin Burns is a virtual lock, but give me your next 2 favorite pitchers on today's slate for DraftKings and for FanDuel.
Yeah, behind Corbin Burns, who, like you said, is basically the lock. My second highest exposed pitcher is Sonny Gray, and then I have Max Fried, Walker Buehler, Rasmussen, and then looks like Webb and Erod after that.
Oh, Webb. So Erod, how much Erod were you getting to?
Not a lot. Hold on.
Yeah, this is the uncomfortable thing because we've seen sample sizes of him just striking out everybody. I want to go there, but I just feel like I'm giving up Corbin Burns exposure by going his direction. It's
nothing. It's the amount of exposure I have is where I just hope that he does bad. It's not a lot.
There you go. That's great. Let's go through some of the top stacks that we have here for the day. Obviously, there's a lot of negative exposure that we're looking at going the direction of the Dodgers. But I'm hoping that lineup comes out later because it's hard to assess what a field's going to do when you get a later lineup card. Lock is in 10 minutes. I mean, there's going to be people who want to play the games that are early and watch some of those. I'm going to really be fading almost everything early, aside from, of course, pitching and then Hunter Renfroe. Who are your favorite stacks to get to on today's slate?
Yeah, so I love the Dodgers. Obviously, I like Coors Field a lot, but I think the Dodgers are someone I'm going to get to a lot. As of right now, I believe I have about at least 3 in my cash game lineup. I'm still building that right now. Maybe cutting it a little bit too close here, but love the Dodgers,
fine.
Love the Giants. And then I'm getting to the Twins quite a bit too. I think they're in a pretty good spot versus Jeffries, especially with Buxton and Correa back.
And Twins.
Yes, sir.
It was a good commercial. You weren't alive when that came out.
No, I probably was not.
No, it's really actually frustrating to me, but such is life. Wait, what is happening right now? Tyler Xander? Are
Yeah.
you for real? Are you going to do that?
Yeah. So there we go. I
can't hear you.
Oh,
please,
you can't?
Please
okay.
talk into your microphone.
They can't. 1 second.
Holy mother of God. Producer Tyler, out of the middle of nowhere from the clouds, he just gifted 5 Awesemo DFS
chat
advice memberships into the chat.
I don't know who got those or where they went or anything like that, but 5 random people got them. So yeah, and that's like a new feature on the channel and everything. So those 5 people will have everything like normal channel members get for the month. And then if they want to re-up it, then they can re-up it.
That's pretty sick. Producer Ty, Rob Martin was gifted a membership. We're going to find out exactly who was gifted memberships for stuff. This is pretty cool. You're just giving the membership for him. Look at you, Producer Ty, doing cool stuff, giving badges away. Some people don't want no stinking badges, but you know what? You're going to get them and you're going to like them. They're beautiful. What was that from? That's from a movie. We don't need no stinking badges. That's an actual movie. Thanks for the help. Thanks for the help, gentlemen. It's all right. We got Rob, Mr. Monty, Ryan Diven, and let's see, one more. Well, I got one more. You have Rob Martin, Michael Roundtree gifted a membership by Ty. Look at Producer Ty. I didn't know you were a good person, but there it is. Proofs
I'm
in the
a man
pudding,
of the
baby.
people, for the people. EMAC 2024.
All right. I have to go through, and I just am realizing right now on this early slate for MLB, I'm just going to take out every batter that, well, no, I can't do that. I need to have some stacks from this early game, but such is life. We'll get it done. We'll get it done here. Any questions? Look at this. Blazing Saddles. That's what it was. Thank you, Scott McCarty. So glad we don't need no stinking badges. I knew it was from something. I knew I wasn't crazy. I feel loved. I feel seen today by all of you in chat. That's okay. Don't answer anything.
You talking to me?
Talking to you.
My bad. I was doing some settings.
I can't tell. I'm doing some settings too. I'm kind of revamping everything as we're going here. We're going directly up to lock. 7 minutes to go, everybody. Look at that. Blazing Saddles. Old as Western movie. Yeah, it sure is. I'm seriously stacking a Braves lineup. I don't completely hate it. There's positive leverage. I can't say that I'm going to stack up Oakland and then not stack up Atlanta against the chalkiest pitcher on the slate. I totally understand your reasoning. I don't think it feels good, but like, come on. This is an okay thing to do.
Oh, by the way, we got the Giants lineup in.
All right, let's recap that for everybody. You're shaking your head. I don't know why. Are you shaking? Are you upset about it?
No, I wasn't shaking.
No, it's fine. Okay, never mind. Good talk. Austin Slater, Darren Ruff, Brandon Belt, Wilmer Flores, Evan Longoria, Brandon Crawford, Tierra Estrada, Joey Barton, Mike Yastrzemski batting ninth. We've seen that once upon a time. Well, he's got the least amount of pitch hitting risk in the ninth hole, but yeah. Austin Slater and Darren Ruff, one of those two, they're going to go bye-bye during this game. I'm playing Jock Peterson in some lineups.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. I think it's actually decent.
All you need is, because if it happens one time, it happens one time. This is actually more of the time to do it than any other slate. It's probably a dumb idea. I'm probably not going to have a job at the end of this, but like, cool, I'm doing it.
I mean, it's definitely dumb, but sometimes dumb things work out.
I mean, it's definitely dumb. Yeah. Thanks for
I'm doing
the love
too.
and enthusiasm. Corbin Burns, I need to get more of you. There we go. 75% is what I got to on FanDuel.com. That is a lot of Corbin Burns, and I don't care.
It almost doesn't even feel like enough.
It almost doesn't. 78%. There we go. I just got the final run that I wanted.
There we go.
That looks better. And then Renfro. Where did Renfro go in my lineups? He's supposed to be there. That's all right. I want to get 2 lineups with him there in the DK. 5 minutes to go. Who are the pitchers du jour? We have talked about a lot of them, I would imagine. Corbin Burns seems good. Very chalky. He seems pretty good. Also, we talked about Dalton Jeffries. If you're trying to get really off the board in terms of DraftKings.com, I have no problem if you want to play any of the chalk pitchers. You just are going to have to be very aware of what you're doing with your stacks.
Yeah, that's the thing, because you can play chalk, but then you can't really match it with chalk. Like, some people will go completely contrarian, which is a mistake. Like, you can still play chalky players, but at the same time, you have to mix and match that to where you're getting either low-owned stack with chalky pitchers or low-owned pitchers with chalky stacks.
You know how I combat playing chalky pitchers?
What you got?
I play jockey batters.
Oh, gosh. 6 out of 10.
Oh, yeah. How you like them apples? Woo! You guys didn't know EMAC was on the show today.
I already got to do a show with EMAC, so I got to deal with 2 of these kinds of jokes now, twice a week.
That was too good. 4 minutes left to go. I felt pretty good about that one, though. Like, come on.
It was solid.
Not the worst thing you've ever heard somebody do.
It's definitely not the worst thing. I mean, is it up there? Sure, but it's not the worst.
Oh, I feel pretty good about my life here. What do I got? Yeah, I'll revamp some of this later. Whatever. We'll get it all covered. I'm going to have plenty of time. 4 minutes just to make sure that I got all of the stuff. Michael Roundtree, truly appreciate the membership. We truly appreciate you. Again, that is a big thanks to Tyler Xander. You got to smash the like button for him because, again, great person. Hey, as we're getting out of here, 3 minutes left. Here's your lineup for the Dodgers. Betts, Freeman, Turner, Smith, Muncy, Turner, Bellinger, Taylor, Lux. No Edwin Rios, sad times.
No, that's pretty much what we expected, I believe. So
it is.
Okay, don't have to change anything then. We're good.
Nope. Don't have to change a damn thing, really. I'm trying to get some of the different combinations of pitchers for these early games, figuring out exactly how I want to do it. I'm going to get one share of Rasmussen. Sweet. I heard the Tigers are terrible. That's true, right?
That is a rumor that I think we can both confirm. Not very good at the baseballs.
They're very not good at the baseballs, that's for sure. Oh, Max Fried, please go nuts. All right, I'm getting a lot of Max Fried, a lot more Max Fried than I thought I would on DK. My lineups are in. So 3 minutes left here. Bada bing, bada boom. Try out some emotes. New badge, boys. Pump up some Emacs in the chat. I like that idea. See Emacs as we get out of here. All 266 of you guys that are chilling, hanging out here, talking baseball on a Wednesday morning. And don't fret. We'll have the MLB Live Before Lock coming up later in the afternoon for the other slate, the main slate that's coming up this afternoon. Who's going to be on that? That's going to be Aton and Neil. That'll be really fun to check out. Love watching Neil on shows. One of the best DFS players on planet Earth. Just added to the stable of top players that we have here. Alex Baker, of course. Steve Buzzard, of course. Eddie Lai, Sean Zahn. We've got Rinpack, everybody you could possibly imagine. And now Neil. Add him to the stable of thoroughbreds. We've got NBA Deeper Dive. That'll be Alex, the boss man Baker, alongside Adam. That's at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And then yours truly, NBA Live Before Lock, coming up with Greg this afternoon or this evening for all of you out on the East Coast. So looking forward to that. But let's do it. 2 minutes left to go here. Get those lineups in. $3,700 for an outfielder. Who do you go with? $3,700 and down. You have the entire board to work with. Who do you like on DraftKings?
On DraftKings? Well, I know we kind of talked bad about him a little bit because of the pinch hit risk, but as far as projection goes for me, it's Austin Slater.
Yeah, it's hard not to. Pretty cool. So if Casali isn't starting, does he have a chance of getting in the game with a pitcher change? I'm not going to do a pinch hit of a catcher. I'm not going to do it.
It's not worth it to me. The only person I do that for is Jock Peterson today.
And Joey Bart has power and is good, and he's a righty, and Kurt Casali's a righty. That's not going to happen. Nothing's going to change there. Casali, he's 30. So Joey Bart's 3,300. That's just the guy that you're going to be playing today. There's no Kurt Casali coming into my life. Thanks, guys. We'll get it today. Yes, we will, Rob Martin. Good times. I know that's my catchphrase, but either way, we are just about up to lock here. We're going to get ourselves on out of here. Go Corbin Burns, go Jour Rasmussen, go Max Fried. Any final words for the people, Chris? Another successful show in the books.
Yeah, I think it was my first live before lock, building lineups at the same time, doing baseball. So it was fun. Good to do it with you.
Do you ever do the sweat? Do you go right up to lock of NASCAR sometimes?
Yes, but NASCAR, it's easier for me to get the lineups done like a day prior. So it's not a sweat, really.
Got it. So you're just basically recapping exposure. Not the case when you're having lineups added to the fray as you're going along. Makes it fun, makes it enthusiastic, but a great job as always. Thank you so much to Tyler Xander. Once again, gifting subs to the people, a man of the people. That is Tyler Xander. Awesome work, per usual. Let's get ourselves out of here. Chris, great work. I'm Eric. I'll see you guys later in the day.